Fly chick coming through. Nice to meet you. Glad you came too. Like you stand when you know you got moves. You spit game and you know you spit.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Fastlane Collective. I am your host, Brianna, and I'm with Daniela. How are you?
Hello. I am well. I am tired. I've just come off the back of 4 night shifts because it was the Tokyo E-Prix weekend and I had to be on Tokyo times, and let's just say it was difficult. It was challenging. Yaz, our other host, does night shifts all the time, and I honestly do not know how she does it, so hats off to her. She's actually away this week on holiday, and I'm so jealous because I feel like I could really do with a holiday right now. Brianna, you've just come back from a holiday. How was your holiday?
Yeah, you and me both are both very tired today because my holiday involved a very big time change difference, so I'm still jet lagged, trying to survive. I'm basically running on caffeine and nothing else. But yeah, my holiday was really, really great. Much needed break. I'm sad that I wasn't here recording with you guys because I know last week, unfortunately, there was a bit of an emergency. And if you're wondering, why didn't you guys put out an episode last week? That was just because there was an actual emergency with our lovely host Yasmin, and you guys, life gets in the way sometimes, and sometimes life comes first. But yeah, we do apologize for that, but honestly, we don't regret it because it was a real emergency, and we always want to make sure all 3 of us as hosts are all good when we record and in a great mental space. And if we are not, we do not want to bring you a show because that would be probably really boring and sad for you to listen to if we're not in the right space. But yes, Yaz is on holiday. I just got back from a wonderful long holiday. So Daniela, it's your turn. You have to go on holiday soon. It seems only fair.
1 month and then I'm away for a week, and I actually cannot wait. It will be at the end of the Jakarta E-Prix weekend, and at that point I would have done 3 sets of overnight shifts, and so I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need it more than I need it now, and I honestly cannot wait because there is a spa at the place that I'm staying, and I'm gonna be in that spa all day every day, and it's gonna be beautiful. As I said, I really cannot wait.
I'm so excited for you. Just hearing that sounds amazing. You're going to need a spa and a lot of caffeine, but yes, well-deserved break. And obviously summer is just around the corner technically, so we'll all be hopping off to do little holiday things. But yeah, we are back this week to bring you all the action from the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, or whatever the long name, made in Italy, blah, 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 of this race is. But obviously it's Ferrari's first home race with their new boy, Lewis Hamilton. So there was a lot to look forward to, and actually the race was pretty interesting. I did admit to Daniela, though, when I sat down to watch a race live, I only made it through lap 1 before I passed out from my jet lag. The next thing I knew, I woke up and people were in the driver's room. So obviously the ending was spoiled for me. And then I tried to rewatch it again the next day, and I didn't make it past lap 17. So I just gave up, and when I woke up, I watched the highlights on YouTube because I was like, I'm never going to be able to make it through this. Maybe by the end of the week, maybe I'll give it another try. Maybe I'll pick it up on lap 17. But before we get into all of the action-packed race weekend, we've got a lot of news to go through because the F1 gods have just been gifting us all this drama, all of this news and action. So, of course, this week was the official 75th anniversary of Formula One. So if you weren't following Formula One on social media, maybe you saw all the cool little fun facts that they were throwing out there. I really enjoyed it, actually. I found it really interesting to learn some new things about F1 and the history, which was really cool. But F1 was celebrating that this week. There were also rumors going around the paddock and the news cycle that Christian Horner may be getting the boot. Daniela, it's really interesting because we talked about this a couple episodes ago about how the heck has Red Bull been in so much turmoil and no one's gotten fired. Do you think this rumor has any truth to it?
It's come at a really weird time because everything kind of got brushed under the carpet with the whole Christian Horner situation from last season. So I don't know why has this come out now? Like, why was he not fired then? You know, like, I feel like that's what we all kind of thought was going to happen, that he was at least going to step back, and he didn't. And now it's taken them over a year to decide to fire him, potentially, if this rumour does actually come to anything. So I don't know why now, but is it maybe the right decision? Maybe. I'm not the biggest Christian Horner fan. I do think he has been a part of Red Bull's success. I do think we have to kind of take that into account. Mm-hmm. But I think that, you know, sometimes things end. And maybe this is the time for Christian Horner's time at Red Bull to end. But it's a weird timing because he's not the only team principal to kind of be in a little bit of turmoil, so to speak. So, yeah, very strange timing.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I think to look at it as an organization standpoint, you mentioned obviously the way their season kicked off last year with the rumors and the allegations around Christian Horner. Obviously, like, firing him, especially when they did their own internal investigation and found him not guilty, wouldn't make much sense. Be like, oh, we think you're innocent, but we're firing you anyways. I think, honestly, the rumors come because of the performance of the team currently. Like, obviously, Red Bull was sitting on top for quite a while, and it seemed like no one would be able to beat that Red Bull car. And that's not the case anymore. Well, I mean, this weekend a little different, but yeah, the Red Bull has definitely been underperforming, and also all the drama around them switching drivers. Yuki Tsunoda, he's been doing okay, but not any better than maybe Liam Lawson would be doing at this point if he was still there, or some other drivers in the past. So I think it's more coming about these rumors about him being fired because the performance of the team is declining. And obviously him being the head of that team, he's the first one on the chopping block when it comes to the full performance of the team, not just the drive. But yeah, well, I found this interesting as well. Honestly, I've kind of been questioning, like, okay, all this stuff has been going on. The team is heading downhill, and yet the head of the team, like, hasn't been questioned. He's the one who makes all these decisions. We see this in all other sports, like soccer. The team's not doing well, the coach gets a boot, like, not the players. So I was kind of waiting to see what Red Bull would do if the decline continued. If we would see them possibly get rid of Christian Horner or make some bigger changes within that organization. So I think it's only natural to see these rumors. But Max Verstappen kind of proved all that wrong this weekend by putting them back in the spotlight, which we'll talk about obviously earlier. But yeah, Danielle, you did mention this isn't the first bit of team principal drama that we've heard this week, but I feel like this other bit of drama was specifically with Alpine is even juicier once you look into it. Obviously we know, and it was announced 2 weeks ago, that the team principal of Alpine was taking leave. He was being let go. They didn't say he was going to be fired, but he was basically kind of leaving on his own goodwill. And everyone was kind of questioning why. It was kind of weird timing. The team, you know, has been a little better, so people were wondering what was going on. There was lots of rumors around it having to do with Jack Doohan being replaced with Franco Colapinto, which we obviously know has happened already. It was Franco's first race this weekend with Alpine. But when we look further into it, not all meets the eye. Daniela, would you be able to run us through what the heck is really going on here and why he left Alpine?
Yes, so I had actually prepared this for the last episode that we were going to do, which then didn't happen. I did a little bit of a deep dive into this whole situation. So I feel like I should give you kind of like a play-by-play of how these events unfolded. So on Tuesday the 6th of May, Oliver Oakes resigned from Alpine as team principal, with Flavio Briatore taking on Oliver Oakes' duties, which in itself is insane. And
insane. We could do a whole podcast on just that. Like, end it there. Literally the best comeback story of all time, but the comeback story nobody wanted to see. But anyways, continue. You're right. He's now the head team principal at Alpine. Ew.
Yes, so we want to do a whole episode all about Flavio Briatore, because that is just, as I said, insane. I don't think there's another word that sums it up. I do not understand how this man is in this position of power. We really need to take a look at this. So if that is something you guys would be interested in us diving into, let us know. I'm very keen to do it. So that happened on the 6th of May. On the 7th of May, Alpine announced that Franco Colapinto will replace Jack Doohan for the next 5 races, with potential that they'd have this second seat as a rotating seat and review it after 5 races and maybe get in someone else. Flavio Briatore has now come back and said actually that's not what their plan is, but that's what F1 reported when this all came out initially, so who knows? Do Alpine even know at this point? No idea. That team is falling apart so quickly. It's also like around the same time there was discussions that apparently a lot of the Alpine members of staff were leaving to go to Cadillac. So, you know, things are really not looking good for Alpine.
It's like that meme where the dog is sitting in the kitchen, there's fire everywhere, and it's like, everything is fine. That literally describes Alpine right now. Like, honestly. But yes, continue. Alpine in shambles. Franco's in the seat now.
So then on Friday the 9th of May, there was then another announcement that high-tech director and Oliver Oakes' brother, William Oakes, was charged with transferring criminal property after being found in possession of a large amount of cash at Silverstone Park on the 1st of May. So May was not looking like a good month for Alpine. So within that, Oliver Oakes went, okay, I'm going to leave Alpine and go to Dubai. But before we knew that he was leaving Alpine because of these incidences with his brother, people were saying, oh, is he going to go back to high tech? Because he took on a role as like team principal for high tech. Before he was the Alpine team principal, he kind of built up high tech to what we know it as now. And so everyone was like, okay, maybe he's just going back to high tech. Like, that's what he wants to do. Fair enough. No one had any idea that this was all going on. There are so many rumours within this story. But for those who might not know, Dmitry Mazepin, who is Nikita Mazepin's dad. Yes, this whole story gets even crazier because I'm now bringing the Mazepins into this.
Of course the Mazepins are involved. Of course. Like, I should be surprised, but I'm not.
Like, you think the story's going one way, and then it's a whole 180 and goes another way, and then there's another whole one. Like, it's just crazy. So, Dmitry Mazepin used to be, like, involved with high tech. He had a lot of ties to the Oakes family, and he used to own 75% of high tech before the Russian-Ukraine war, where then, like, obviously everything kind of got taken away with Russia, and obviously, like, Mazepin was not allowed to race anymore, and everything to do with those sponsors and all of that. So up until that point, he owned 75% of high tech, and Mazepin, his son Nikita Mazepin, used to race for high tech before he made it into F1.
Pulled a Lance Stroll.
Yes, pulled a Lance Stroll, definitely. But then there's another rumour going around that Briatore could also somehow be involved with this. I haven't seen much about this and where this has kind of come from, but I've just kind of heard through the grapevine that there is a possibility he could be involved in some way. So this is an incredible story that still is unfolding. We don't know what's going on. We're still waiting for updates. I am like refreshing the F1 website. I'm refreshing every possible news outlet that there is to see if there's any more information about this. But it is also believed that some of the high-tech cars were impounded on their return from the Middle East. So it just is all kicking off at the moment. And to make this even worse, Karun Chandok said on the Sky F1 podcast that there have been 7 different team bosses for Alpine since 2020.
That's crazy. Absolutely. I saw that as well.
Like,
yeah.
Wow.
I know. So really at the heart, by the way, you mentioned like his brother was caught with a large sum of money, cash, by the way. That sum was $1 million. So this man is walking around with $1 million in cash on him, which can't explain that away, honestly. Like, it's like, hey, what are you doing with $1 million in cash? Oh, I was just going to buy some clothes. Like, there's no reason you should have $1 million in cash on you. And really the whole crux of this whole situation and why it's a big deal and possibly a lot of illegal, shady things going on is the rumor is that these brothers were helping funnel money to the Mazepins, which is obviously that illegal transferring of goods, as they so legally put it. This is pretty big news, not just in the F1 world, but in the world in general. There's some pretty crazy, shady stuff going on, and it's definitely strange. And if it's true, it's really even worse, honestly. So yeah, a lot of players in this rumor, a lot of possibilities as to what this could be. Do you think, Daniela, that this could be true? I mean, it's really suspicious. Why would you have that amount of money on you? And when they do stuff like that, it usually means there's been an investigation ongoing. They've been watching them for a little bit and just kind of waiting for them to trip up so they can actually arrest said person. Do you think any of this is true? And if so, as a fan, how does this make you feel about F1 and the people involved in the business side of things?
I think this is true. I feel like it has to be. You can't make this up. And like, why would you be at Silverstone with $1 million in cash? Okay, everyone knows that when you go to Silverstone, everything is cashless. You can only pay by card. So why the hell have you got $1 million in cash on you? That's not going to get you anywhere. So it is very, very suspicious. I do not like it at all. It does not make me like this aspect of the sport. It makes you feel quite unwell. It's crazy that this, for like all of these events, just one after the other, because everyone initially thought that Oliver Oakes left Alpine because he was not happy with the decision made to replace Jack Doohan. And before we knew about that, about what was about William Oakes, I genuinely believed that was the reason. Like, he just did not agree. Everyone else went against him, and despite being team principal, it was everyone else against him, so he had no say. And then when this was all announced, I was sat at work and I was like, oh my god, what, how, who, Mazepins, they're back, what is going on? It's all just so almost surreal at this point. Like, how are we at this point where we have people like this happening? Like, we have these storylines happening in this sport. Like, it was bad enough with the whole Christian Horner stuff last year. We've now got Flavio Briatore effectively as team principal for Alpine after being one of the most like hated people in the sport. He had a lifetime ban from F1, and now he's a team principal of F1. I'm like, this makes me feel sick. How have we got here?
Like I said, the craziest comeback story that nobody wanted. But like, honestly, this man, I don't know, maybe he's a wizard, like put spells on people. I have no idea, because how you make it from a lifetime ban from Formula One to now team principal, like, how is it possible?
I just don't get it. How is this allowed?
Yeah,
like, this does not look good.
Right, and if you're ever wondering, like, oh, should I really get into F1? Like, just read the story. Like, just get into it for this. 'Cause, like, I don't think there's any sport out there where someone has been banned for life and then somehow makes it back into the sport and not only makes it back, but makes it to like the pinnacle of his position. Like, what? Because honestly, when I saw that Alpine, like that he was leaving, Oliver Oakes was leaving, I was like, oh, this is 100% Flavio Briatore's doing. Like, there's no question about it. He pushed him out. And then there was so much defending going on as well. Like, as soon as it was announced, of course, everyone was speculating, oh, they were butting heads, and this is why he left. It's Flavio's fault. Then Alpine, what made me laugh so bad was when they made their first initial post about Oliver Oakes leaving, and they were like, we'll make no further comment. And like less than 24 hours later, made a comment. I was like, it's not because of Flavio Briatore. And I just was like, wait, didn't you say you were not going to make any further comment? like you said, that team is on fire. Like, they don't even know what's happening. They're like, no further comment. Actually, wait, we have a further comment. Like, dying. But then, like, just put more gasoline on the fire with the Mazepins. It's like, oh my god, can we not get rid of you? Like, also, it doesn't make Nikita Mazepin's little non-profit organization look good at all.
I don't think Nikita Mazepin could look good in any light.
No.
So, you know, this just really adds fuel to the fire. But do you know what I want to know, Brianna? I want to know what Pierre Gasly thinks of everything.
Oh my god. Could you imagine? He's been quite quiet. He hasn't made any comments. He's been quite just kind of like, I'm here to drive and do nothing else. But yeah, if I were him, I'd have my agent start talking to other people.
Yeah.
Because
I'd be on the phone to Cadillac right now.
yeah, I'd be like, hello. My name is Pierre Gasly. I'm a victim of Flavio Briatore's reign of rule. I would like a new seat. Thank you. Bye-bye. I mean,
it's so crazy.
I hate to say this, but does it surprise me that Alpine is in hot water, entangled with some of the most greasiest, slimiest people in Formula One? No, I'm not. If there's one team that's going to be involved with these types of people, it's going to be Alpine. And I hate to say that, but I don't know.
Brianna, I have a question for you.
Question. I have an answer, maybe.
Okay. So, I'm just thinking about junior drivers who are in like that Alpine Academy.
Yeah.
And we know that one of them has parted ways with Alpine this year, that being Abby Pulling.
True.
Do you think that, you know, the whole involvement of Flavio Briatore, do you think that could have been part of the reason why Abby left? And also, do you think that other junior drivers are going to start looking at other programs rather than Alpine?
Does it surprise me that a woman was ahead of all this? That before all the men were and she abandoned ship first? No, I'm not. Because she probably saw the writing on the wall. I mean, if you haven't noticed as well, 2 years ago, Alpine made this huge stink about their, like, Race Her initiative. They basically made it their whole kickoff to revealing their livery. I have yet to see them really talk much about it since then. And I think that is probably a big reason why Abby Pulling parted ways. Because I don't think they were giving her the support that they promised or that she needed. I don't know if it had to really do with Flavio Briatore, honestly. I think she just saw the writing on the wall. Like I'm sure a lot of these drivers are seeing now or have seen in the past and have been like, yeah, this team doesn't have it together. They're making promises they can't keep. And everything's on fire. So I'm not going to stay because I need to look out for myself. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Pierre Gasly maybe start to make that realization now or later in the season, especially if the poor performance kind of continues. And the fact too, like you mentioned earlier, they said, oh, he's gonna have 5 races. That's what it was reported on every media outlet. Like Franco Colapinto is only gonna have 5 races, and then they'll evaluate further. Like, and then Flavio Briatore comes out this week and says, no, that's not the case. I don't know where you got that from. That just shows us that like the communication breakdown in that team is not, it's really, really bad. Non-existent. And also the suggestion that they were just going to make that a rotator seat. Like, what? This is Formula One. This is a pinnacle of motorsport. This isn't like a, hey, anybody else want to give it a try? Like that. This is not that. So the fact that that was even mentioned is just insane. So it just shows you the breakdown of this team and how poorly it's going. And I'm not shocked that the Mazepins and Flavio Briatore may be behind all of it, because they are the reigning kings of chaos when it comes to these types of things. And shadiness. Chaos and shadiness is the vibe that this whole situation and that whole team right now is giving. Chaos and shadiness. That should be their new slogan, honestly. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, pretty insane. I would say we're both shocked, but not shocked. Do you think that's a good evaluation?
Yeah, like the downfall of Alpine was coming. I just didn't know to what extent.
Right. We weren't sure, but it's becoming a real thing now. But yeah, that was a huge bit of news. Obviously, there have been no reports of 100% what has happened, besides the facts that we know that his brother was arrested, that there was cash found on him, that he's been accused / committed, I guess. I don't know what you would call it, but officially by the law has been caught transferring illegal goods, aka large sums of cash, to Russia. So that's all we know for the facts. We will see what comes of this story. If anything comes out more, we will definitely keep you updated. But speaking of chaos and hot messiness, let's turn it to the FIA because we've got 2 bits of news. First off, we're going to start with this, the craziest part of F1 news. So everyone sit down, take a deep breath, because this might shock you.
Wait, can it get any crazier than the story we just had?
Oh yeah, just wait. Wait till I've been thinking about how I'm going to intro this whole thing. So, is F1 getting a new dictator? Maybe, according to the current president, FIA President Ben Salim. Apparently, it was leaked that he is trying to propose changes that basically allow him to bar anybody running against him. Like, you just asked if it could get crazier, Daniela? Yes, it could. F1's trying to install a dictator. When I saw this, I thought, no, this can't be true. There's no way. This guy isn't, one, that stupid. Because how obvious is that? Like, why else would you want to make changes like this? You know, to keep yourself in power, obviously. And especially with all the rumors going around about Carlos Sainz's dad, Carlos Sainz Sr., possibly running for FIA president. It didn't surprise me that much. But I thought it was false at first until I looked into it. And I was like, oh my God, nope, this is real. He's actually trying to do this. Again, chaos. Just raining upon us this week. Daniela, I mean, what do you think of all this? And do you think it'll actually happen? I guess.
This is the pinnacle of motorsport, everybody.
The pinnacle of motorsport. The pinnacle of leadership. Dictatorship.
I'm sat here questioning my life choices. Like, do I really want to work in this sport? Is that what I really want to do? After the last 3 stories that we've just said, is this really what I want to sign myself up for? Because this is a lot. This is even too much for me, and I'm a drama queen at heart. I have an acting degree.
I know. So is Yaz. You know, I'm sad she's not here because she loves this stuff. She lives for it. I mean, we don't promote it. We're not happy about it, but we love a little spice in life, and this is extra hot. This ain't no medium spice. This is the top of the spice level of craziness and chaos. Do you think that this will come to fruition? Like the fact that this was leaked, that he's trying to do this? Do you think F1 would even allow this, the governing body as a whole?
No, I don't think F1 will allow it, or Liberty Media, or anyone really. I think this will be, that's it, you're done. I know, it's very clear. We hear this news that Carlos Sainz Sr. wants to run. literally a few days later, this news comes out. So it's clear what he's doing. And at that point, he hadn't even said that he was going to run. Like, it was implied, but he hadn't explicitly said that he was going to, like, run again. He's just gone and said, I'm not even going to run again because I'm just going to stay and you guys can't kick me out. Like, this is it. I'm here. And you guys all have to deal with it. And it is ridiculous because there is no one who wants him in that seat. They want him out. And it's looking like at the moment that Carlos Sainz Sr. is the more favourable candidate right now. I don't know who else is going to run for it yet. He has said that he will obviously, like, not continue with his role with his son in terms of, like, management and advice and whatever it is that he does. I don't even really know what he does, like mentoring, managing, who knows? Because I think that was a concern. It was a concern on my part of, like, could this be conflict of interest? But he's come out, they both have come out and said, actually, that, you know, that's not going to be the case. Carlos Sainz Jr. did an interview for Channel 4 F1 coverage, and he, like, actually was apparently one of the first interviews that he did about this, and we got the inside scoop, so go us. But he said that, like, he's not going to let, like, his dad, like, get in the way of his career, and he's not going to get in the way of his dad's career, and, like, they're happy for him to run, and so be it. But that obviously puts a threat. And yeah, this is why we're in this situation. But I think that it can't be allowed. Like, surely, if it does, that speaks volumes about this sport, and I really don't like it.
You know, what I think we should do is we should elect the new FIA president just like the Pope is elected. I mean, let's just do it that way. We'll lock them all in a room somewhere in Italy, okay? We'll all wait for the smoke to see if it's black or white smoke, if a new FIA president has been voted on and chosen. And then they'll come out on the balcony and announce it. I mean, it's just crazy that somebody is this high up in the FIA, the president of the FIA, and to find out that he's proposing these ideas that basically could just frankly ruin the sport and all motorsports that are underneath that FIA umbrella. We mentioned this before, but obviously there have been a lot of things going on in the FIA. There's been quite a bit of changes as well around people leaving, new people coming in, but it's no secret that recently there's been a lot of unhappiness around the head of the FIA and the president, and there's been a lot of animosity toward him and some of the choices and some of the things he said. He hasn't been a favorite, not just in Formula One, but in other governing bodies that FIA oversees as well. So it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing somebody who knows that they're losing their grip and their popularity, trying to desperately grasp at keeping it. We see this happen all the time in general. But yeah, I mean, it's just really disappointing that knowing that somebody that wants to try to propose something like that or push something like that forward is currently sitting at the head of the governing body of motorsport. It's really concerning, and I agree with you that I don't think this will go through at all, that we will have, like, you know, a regular election kind of process here, and hopefully diplomacy will reign over this situation. And Carlos, I would love to see Carlos Sainz Sr. at the head of it. I think that would be really great. I think he's got a steady head on his shoulders and obviously has been involved in a couple different types of motorsport that the FIA oversees. So I would say his experience is really great. And I hope we see somebody else that deserves that type of seat and power in the FIA and not somebody who's doing all of this craziness, because this is bananas. The fact that this guy is trying to basically make himself in power for forever. But yeah, I mean, just when you think the FIA couldn't get more crazy. I know I have said that line more than once on this podcast over the past several years, but just when you think the FIA couldn't be any more crazy, it gets crazier. It gets crazier. So don't think that thing will be passed, but if it comes back into the news cycle, or we find out this could possibly be passed as a rule or law in the F1 or the FIA, will let you know, but we don't think it's going to happen. But we thought it important to let you know, because that can't happen anywhere, ever, in government or in motorsports governing body. It should never happen. Okay, last bit of news what we have for you really quickly. If you didn't see, the FIA did slash the fine for the swearing fine in half. Daniela, do you think was this like Ben Salim's olive branch? Like me again. Look, it's only going to be this much money instead of this much, but we're still keeping the rule.
It's him going, see, look, you do all really like me. I am really amazing at my job. You guys didn't give me a chance, but look, I'm so nice. And I'm the best FIA president that I'm cutting the swearing ban in half. And I'm the only person that likes a swearing ban, but I'm going to make it better for you. I'm just going to cut it in half and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I feel like he was like just gaslighting all of us, being like, okay, so here's this ban that I'm going to put in place and I'm going to fine all of you if you guys swear. And then turn around and goes, I never said that. I didn't say that. I only said that you need to pay this amount, which is half of what you guys are saying I said that you needed to pay. I didn't say that. No, that's what it's giving. And I'm really, really not here for it. We need this election now. We need him out. I can't take this anymore. I don't think the drivers can take it anymore. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's the fact that it's not just F1 that are coming out and speaking about this. It is other drivers from other FIA championships that are coming out and saying this is not okay. Brianna, do you feel the same? Are you just so done with this now?
Yeah, I'm so over it. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I read these things, I chuckle and laugh for a hot second because I'm just like, oh my God, of course, this'll. But yeah, I think it really takes away from the sport as a whole and all motorsports that the FIA oversees. It prevents a lot of these guys from doing what they love and just like focusing on that instead of like having all these other things to worry about. And it's just not needed. And I think it just speaks to the fact that, like you said, it's not just F1 complaining, it's multiple other motorsports and drivers from other series complaining and speaking up. And I think that just is more of a reason why we need to change at the very top right now, because it's very evident that no one is really happy with him or the way he's leading, and he's very much pushing his own agenda onto motorsport. Like, I don't like this, so we're not going to do it. Not like, hey, is this good for the sport? Is this good for the drivers? Is it good for the fans? Like, there's none of that. It's just like, I've decided this and we're doing it, which is a dictatorship. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's silly. Like, oh, slashing the fine, is that really, you're not really resolving anything. It's not the money they care about. They don't care. They have plenty of money. They'll pay your fine all day long. They don't care about that. It's just the principle, the fact that they're trying to control, what they're saying in their speech. And in situations where that's very difficult to do, when your body's pumping with adrenaline and you're moving at 200 miles an hour. Like, that's the last thing you're thinking of is, what am I saying? Like, out loud in my helmet. It's just ridiculous. So we'll see if any of this stuff compounds to possibly, having a new president. And I hope so, because this is distracting from a lot of things and taking away from the sport that we love. And we don't want any of that. So, okay, that is the news. It was a crazy bit of news this week, but we had to talk about it because there were some things that were just like, whoa, what is happening here? And I felt like it all happened at once, Danielle. I don't know about you, but when I was on vacation, I remember I messaged you guys and I was like, the F1 gods are giving right now. Like, there's so much news and drama going on. It all rained down at once. You felt like that?
Absolutely. It felt like one storyline was happening and another came up and then another. And I'm like, I actually don't even know where to start and how to look into all of this because so much is happening all at the same time. It was like every day I'd get into the office, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much going on. How does one person just compute all of this? Like, it's insane.
It is insane. It literally is a full-time job, honestly, keeping up with this sometimes. And then we have some weeks where no one says anything. Of course, in the weeks like where we need it, like spring break or like summer break, or like during the off season. None of this happens in the off season. And it's like, guys, give us a little bit of this during like the breaks so we have something to talk about instead of just like picking 2 weeks or 3 weeks out of the year and just like raining down on us. It's really hard to keep up with. So F1 gods, if you can hear me, just take that note and we'll be all good. All right, so now the news is over, let's get into the race because it was actually quite a good race. I was really, really happily and pleasantly surprised of all the action we got, all the amazing overtakes we saw in this race. Honestly, it was so fun to watch. Do you agree with me, Daniela? Did you enjoy this one?
Yes, I did. It was a good race. There was a moment where it kind of like dipped a little bit, but then it kind of perked itself back up, and I did actually really enjoy this race.
Yeah, came back to life, just like the medium tire was supposed to do after supposedly 25 laps. But not a lot of people experienced that. Speaking of tires, it was a big topic of conversation this whole weekend. Obviously, it was a lot warmer at the track than they were anticipating, which I think was playing into messing with a lot of the team's normal strategies here and relying on some of the data that they've had in the past. But we did see a lot of teams taking a lot of pit stops this weekend with the tires. Daniela, do you think that played into just the great racing that we got this weekend when it came to how teams were trying to formulate their strategies? We saw some teams doing 2 different strategies with 2 cars with the tires. Do you think that kind of helped make this race more interesting and exciting?
Definitely. Strategy was such a key part of this race, and it was a kind of like a big divide because you'd had some people who, like, I think it was Ocon, he pitted on like lap 1 or 2, and I was like, wow, already? Like, everything was just so crazy because then some people pitting really early and then some pitting a bit later, and you had like this divide where like half the grid had pitted and the other half hadn't, and you had to, like, I think it was like the top 10 at one point. All of these people had obviously changed and swapped because of people going into pits, but then you had this top 10 of none of them had pitted, but then the bottom 10, they all had pitted, which had meant that some people who would normally be in the bottom 10 were then in the top 10, and it was all crazy that all of these people had not pitted, and then you just saw Oscar Piastri just come up and work his way up, and then he was the only driver in the top 10 who'd pitted, and I was like, what is going on? I don't understand. And like you said, like, it was all around that medium tyre. They all wanted to make this medium tyre last, and it did not work. And they all had to switch to the hards. And I just think it kind of really, really kind of put this pressure on the teams and the strategists because nothing went the way that anyone thought it was going to. And they all needed to come up with a plan really fast. And like you said, you'd have 2 drivers who are on completely different strategies to each other. And I feel like we see that a lot less in recent Formula One. Like, I feel like it used to be a bigger thing where you'd have both drivers being on opposing strategies. But this race in particular, it felt like, there was quite a few teams that were trying different things within both drivers to see what was going to work because no one knew. You couldn't predict this one. As you said, the track was just too hot and we just didn't know what way it was going to go. And I was really shocked when I saw everyone starting to pit. I was like, I thought we said we've got like at least 25 laps on these tyres. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it felt like a lot of the teams were throwing cooked spaghetti at the wall and seeing if it would stick. Yeah, that medium tire was an unpredictable one. And I think a lot of teams were like, we're not 100% sure how this is going to go, so we're just going to do this on the fly. We're going to see if it works. Obviously, we saw that medium tire graining quite quickly. We saw a lot of teams having to make some very on-the-ball changes. Basically, it was a decision between, can we make this medium tire go to do a one-stop, or do we just bite the bullet and do 2? And the issue was, if you do the 2-stop, you're going to be in that the 1-stop, you're going to be in that dirty air, which is going to, again, just degrade your tire even more. So it normally would be faster, but with the graining that they were seeing on the tires, it in fact wasn't when you're in that dirty air and that traffic. So yeah, it worked out for some. Didn't work out for others, but I think that added some fun unpredictability to this race, and really put the strategists in the hot seat more than they normally are. But yeah, it was really interesting just to see how some teams were trying to play with the strategy behind the tires. Specifically, McLaren thought that the medium tire would grain pretty badly between 15 to 20 laps, but then possibly kind of come back a little bit around 25 laps. It kind of seemed to do that but not as long as they needed it to do to hold on for the strategy that they optimally wanted. But yeah, definitely made it interesting. Really quickly though, before we dive into the rest of the action of the race, we had two pretty big crashes in qualifying I just want to touch on, because one, I think it's a note we should know every time a driver has like some serious crashes, because I think it's a good reminder to fans that these people are putting their lives on the line for our entertainment. But also it just also shows how safe the cars have come and how the development of these cars is saving lives. Yuki Tsunoda in particular had a really, really bad crash, incredibly high speed crash, and it really reminded me of Guan Yu Zhou's crash a couple of years ago. He almost ended upside down, but so glad to see Yuki Tsunoda walk away from that. And obviously Franco Colapinto, his first weekend with Alpine, also had a crash in qualifying. Daniela, like when you see these crashes, especially Yuki's in particular, are they scary for you to watch as a fan? But also, is it really encouraging to see that they're able to walk away from crashes like this, like Yuki did?
Yes, I think it really shows how needed that halo is this weekend with those two crashes, especially Yuki's crash. We need these halos. Like, I know that everyone was so against them before they were mandatory, but they have saved lives multiple times now. Like, if we look back at recent years, we've got Roman Grosjean's crash in 2020, Max and Lewis in Monza 2021, Guan Yu Zhou's crash in Silverstone 2022, and obviously then Yuki Tsunoda's crash this year. I just think that I just can't imagine what this could have all looked like if we didn't have the halo. It's so vital to keeping these drivers alive, and I was terrified when I saw Yuki's crash, and it did really, really remind me of the Guan Yu Zhou crash. I think I've spoken about my experience of Guan Yu Zhou's crash at Silverstone, is that I didn't actually know it had happened. I was at Silverstone, didn't see it, didn't know what was going on, and we had no signal, and the race had stopped, but none of us knew why. So seeing Yuki's crash really took me back to that moment of like, I can't imagine how everyone's feeling if they don't know what's going on, and like those who have seen it, like how awful it is to witness that live. We have been really unfortunate in like in the last month within motorsport, and we've unfortunately lost 2 lives in the British Superbike Championship, and I feel like it's such a big reminder that like these guys that risk their lives every time they step in their car or go out on their bike. And I think sometimes we actually forget that, you know, this is a really dangerous sport. I never want to see a driver crash. I will never wish that on anyone. So when it does happen, I just get like this horrible sinking feeling. And I know you're thinking like, well, you literally watch F1 and when you work in motorsport, like it's going to happen. And it does. And it genuinely makes you feel sick. Every time I've witnessed a crash, I saw a really horrible crash in Formula E at the start of the season. Similar kind of thing of a driver going upside down. And I had to rewatch that crash multiple times before we even knew the driver was okay. And it made me start to doubt, like, can I actually do this? Because watching those crashes is horrific. There were some really awful crashes in the qualifying for the Indy 500 this weekend as well. And I'm so thankful that the cars nowadays are so much safer than they were, like, even, like, 10, 15 years ago. Like, before that halo was introduced, these cars were not as safe as they could have been, but they're so much safer now.
Absolutely. I remember watching Romain Grosjean's crash, and I remember thinking to myself, am I about to watch somebody die on live television? You're right. Sometimes we forget. We think these guys are just superheroes and these cars are indestructible. They're like the pinnacle of motorsport, the fastest thing on earth. And sometimes we forget like things can go wrong and these people could possibly die in a split second. And watching Yuki's crash was very reminiscent. I mean, it's crazy to see those cars go flipping through the air like they weigh nothing. Like, just tumbling end over end. And I forget who just said this a couple of weeks ago. I think someone on Sky Sports said, you never realize how fast these cars are going until they crash. Like, you don't really see the speed until you see it all fall apart. So we just wanted to like take a moment to bring that to light. We're so glad Yuki and Franco are both okay. Obviously those incidences were very different, but still more important that they both were okay and were able to walk through that. And I'm sure for Franco, well, obviously nobody wants to crash, but obviously Franco, this being his first qualifying with Alpine, crashing out is definitely not something you want to happen on your first race weekend. So, but very happy they're okay.
Another thing to kind of touch on is obviously with it being Imola, everyone's thinking about Ratzenberger and Senna's horrific crashes that they had back in the 90s, and they lost their lives. And I think that when we see crashes like this, especially around the time of that anniversary and in Imola, it does take people back to that time. And I think we couldn't go about this episode without mentioning that it has obviously been the anniversary recently. We were racing in Imola. It's going to bring back a lot of memories for people.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of good memories at Imola and some really sad ones. So when these types of things happen at that track, obviously that's a lot of the first thing that pops into people's minds when this happens. So we are happy to see that they're doing well and all good and fine, and glad that the innovations have led us to be able to say that they're fine and continue with the race weekend instead of having to put another memorial at Imola, because nobody wants that. But yeah, happy to see they're good and all doing well. All right, let's move on to the race itself and the action going on. Like we mentioned, tires for this whole weekend were very important. Let's talk about McLaren, because obviously they had some ups and downs this weekend. More specific, Oscar Piastri not being able to capitalize on that pole position and bring it home for the team. He seems to just have been on fire recently, so kind of surprised to see him not be able to turn that into a win. Daniela, when you look at Lando Norris's performance this weekend and Oscar Piastri's, what are your observations there, and what do you think kind of Oscar could have done better this weekend to kind of capitalize on that pole position?
Overall, like, my observation of this weekend for McLaren is that Lando looked stronger. I think that Oscar was not on his true form that he has been the last few races, or for most of this season. He's leading the championship, and he has still maintained that, but I just came away feeling like Lando seemed overall a lot stronger. And when he overtook Oscar for second, I kind of was like, oh, I feel like Oscar could have done more. But then the same with like that with Max and Oscar at the start of the race. Like, I was not expecting Max to take it so easy. Like, Oscar just felt like he just didn't really put up much of a fight. Like, he knows what Max is going to do. They all know what Max's moves are, especially Oscar. And I kind of was just left feeling a little bit disappointed because, as you said, he really did not capitalise on the weekend. I was expecting more from him. And I feel like this was Lando's kind of time to shine. Obviously, I know he didn't go on to win the race, but I think he just proved to be that little bit stronger this weekend. But I couldn't say why Oscar wasn't quite where he needed to be, or not necessarily needed, but where he has been up until this point.
Yeah, I think Oscar got a little taste of the real Max Verstappen. I think, Max has been a bit distracted just with the performance, and obviously the Red Bull has been underperforming. So they have been closely behind those McLarens, but really at the moment, Lando has been his main competitor. And I think what Oscar experienced this weekend with Max being right behind him like that was you cannot leave that door even cracked slightly for Max Verstappen, because he will capitalize that and take every opportunity he's given. And I think that's what we saw in that first lap and that first corner. But credit to where credit is due. That was an amazing move by Max Verstappen. I mean, I saw that overtake and was like, holy late braking. This man has absolutely no fear. Like, honestly, it was just a masterclass in overtaking. But I mean, Oscar was more covering really for George. He was defending against George and kind of left that corner open for Max. And when it's Max Verstappen, he's going to take it. The man is going to take the chance whether it will deliver for him or not, honestly. So I think that is kind of the taste that Oscar got of you got to be on 100% with Max Verstappen, not 99.9, not 98%, 100%, because he'll take any chance he gets. And unfortunately, that was kind of Oscar's race. Max overtook him there, and then it just kind of went downhill, honestly.
Yeah, I think that Max really takes Senna's quote of, if you no longer go for a gap, then that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. I think Max really takes that to the absolute extreme, to the point that it kind of threw Oscar off guard. As you said, he was really trying to defend against George. I think he thought that's where the battle was at, kind of almost forgetting, here comes Max Verstappen. So I think Max is really proving, yes, he's not had the results he's wanted so far this season, but the talent is very clearly still there, and he will see things that other drivers are missing, and he will catch you out on a split second that you're not with it. Like, that's what makes Max such a great driver, is he can spot these things and give it his all, where other drivers might kind of hesitate a little bit to do something. Max doesn't hesitate, he'll just go for it.
Exactly. He doesn't hesitate at all. And honestly, I think we saw kind of the old Max a little bit this weekend. I don't know if this newfound pride in being a father that's kind of lit. Even the way he talked this weekend was slightly, I don't know, maybe it was just me making this up, and it very might well be, but he just seemed a little different to me, a little bit more of a grateful human. I don't know, but I think, maybe he just seemed, I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm rambling on now at this point. But Oscar kind of got a taste of that, and Lando has obviously gotten a mouthful of that from Max and has learned to really not take any chances with Max Verstappen. So it's really interesting. Obviously, Lando also capitalized on this as well, really being able to put Piastri more in his sights, and kind of take the race to them, because obviously Piastri's leading the championship, which is kind of crazy to think. And Lando definitely he was probably like, thanks, buddy. Thanks, Max, old pal, because I really needed those couple extra points and you kind of helped me out doing that. So, yeah, not the best weekend for McLaren. They definitely could have come away with more points if Oscar was able to hold that, but a decent weekend for Lando. It worked out for him as well. Do you think that we'll still see kind of Lando, Max, Oscar the rest of the season, or do you think this will change and be more of a Lando and Oscar battling it out?
I think Max still has a chance to kind of keep this championship fight going. I don't think that Max is going to win it this year, which I feel like might be really controversial. And I don't think was really something I thought I was going to say. I know that at the start of the season I did predict Oscar to be the drivers' champion, but that was more of a hopeful thing rather than an actuality thing. But now I do feel like it is more likely going to happen. I think if Max does win it, then that's when we'll start to see Lando and Oscar making mistakes. So I think rather than the car kind of not keeping up to standards, I think it will be because of mistakes, not the car.
Yeah, and Red Bull really needed this boost of confidence, especially with those rumors that we mentioned about Christian Horner. They definitely needed a good, solid weekend, and that is definitely what they got this weekend, unfortunately, minus the Yuki situation. But from Max, their star, they definitely got a really great weekend. And I remember thinking to myself as I watched the driver's room at the end, I was like, well, this really helped Christian Horner out. Like, if this would have been like a really bad weekend for both drivers, maybe we would see him fired. I don't know. Maybe there's some truth to that. But I was like, well, this definitely helps him, regardless of if those rumors are true or not. So yeah, great overall weekend for McLaren as well, bringing home some more points. And obviously, both drivers on the podium is a good thing. Obviously, we can't go a whole Imola weekend without talking about Ferrari. And unfortunately, they just could not get it together this weekend. The results they got were better than I was expecting, I will say, after qualifying especially. I was like, oh boy. But honestly, they got better than I thought. Lewis Hamilton getting his best finish with Ferrari so far, finishing in P4. And then obviously Leclerc finishing a little bit farther behind. But Daniela, what are your thoughts about this performance, especially at Imola? Obviously, both cars being out and qualifying in the first round. Charles Leclerc even said, like, normally this would hurt, but it hurts here even more, getting these really crappy results. What are your thoughts on just Ferrari here and what it looks like for the rest of the season for them?
I'm really disappointed in Ferrari. I knew that Lewis was going to need time, and I was prepared to give him the time. I was expecting more from Leclerc this season. I wonder if part of it is still down to the car and the team. I left qualifying being like, wow, that was not good. That really was not good. So they did actually exceed my expectations with their result in the race. I think that tyre strategy and that affecting other teams a lot played into their success. Would have been nice to have had Lewis on the podium. I think it was what a lot of people were hoping for. I was sat in a pub that was full of, like, literally it gets booked out and everyone comes to watch the Grand Prix. And there was obviously a lot of British fans who wanted to see Lewis on the podium. So there was a lot of kind of hope for that within the room. And I think that would have made it extra special, obviously with it being Imola, but it kind of was not meant to be. But they did, when it came to the race, did exceed my expectations, because I was concerned they weren't even going to get in the points.
Same. I was so worried after seeing qualifying. I obviously was in a different time zone, so I was seeing everything much later than it was actually happening. But yeah, I was nervous, and I was like, this, especially at a track like this, where literally all weekend, anytime you saw pictures of the track, like overhead shots, it was all red, just a sea of red. We know this with Imola. It is Ferrari through and through. And I felt bad for the fans having to sit there and watch that. Watch that horrible performance in qualifying. But you're right. I mean, they both had really good drives. Charles, you could just see the disappointment in his face all weekend. You could hear it, especially on his radio, especially when he had that little tuffle with Alex Albon, which I don't know how you feel about that situation. I've seen a lot of conflicting opinions on it, of whether he should have had to give the place back or not, if it was technically a legal move or not. Do you think it was? Do you think that was right for Charles to give it back?
I think he had to give it back. I did. When it happened, I went, I think he should give that back. And then I thought he wasn't going to. And then I was concerned that was going to turn into a penalty. So I'm glad that he did give the place back, because I do believe that the FIA would have looked into it and gone, no. Because we were all sat talking and it was saying, like, the FIA have noticed it. Then it's like, the FIA are investigating. And then he gave the position back and we went, okay, he's not going to get a penalty. And then it came back and said that, like, no further action. And I was like, thank God. But I know, Brianna, you might disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly can see both sides of it. Part of me was like, this is hard racing. Like, I don't know if he should have had to give it back. But it was such... This is a thing with Charles Leclerc, is like he has such a level head on himself. And this is sometimes I think we see a lot of drivers lacking, specifically Max Verstappen, when we talked about this earlier in the season with Max and Lando running each other off track. But it's like, okay, play it safe and give the space back instead of getting a penalty that could end you up 2-3 places behind you. You just don't know what the FIA is going to do because they never freaking stick to their own rule book. So I think he played it safe. Obviously, it was with 1 lap left, and he was like, this possibly isn't worth a bigger penalty that could put me further back. So I am glad he had a level head on himself and wasn't stubborn and just kind of gave it back. Because I do agree, I think they would have probably given him a penalty and it would have been worse. But I thought it was good racing. I don't know. And to see Alex Albon up there fighting with a Ferrari as well, I was like, oh God, like this doesn't make me feel great. But yeah, it was just kind of, as a Ferrari fan, a little disappointing to see the performance. I am happy for Lewis, though. I think that was a much needed little bit of confidence boost that he was able to, 1, outperform Charles, and 2, just like get a good result for the team. I think he needed that little bit of mental confidence boost. But yeah, Ferrari needs to... Time's a ticking, boys. We gotta figure out what's going on with this car. Because they're comfortably sitting right now behind Red Bull in the constructors standings in 4th. And I really feel like the expectations were set pretty high for them this year, and they're not delivering. And especially they need to capitalize on the fact that the Red Bull is not as strong as it used to be. Like, I feel like they should be beating them pretty easily. And they're not. And I can't put my finger on 100% why. But I think it's a car, honestly. But yeah, it was just kind of disappointing to see them at their home race with all those fans and not really performing the way that a lot of us probably hoped they would. But speaking of the Williams, since we were just talking about Alex Albon, I mean, wow, what a weekend for Williams. You're wearing your Williams sweatshirt right now. If you're not watching us on YouTube, Daniela's repping Williams. How do you feel being a fan and seeing Williams up at the front and performing so well? Like, it is shocking to me how well they're doing. I don't know if it should be shocking to me, but it still is. How are you feeling, Daniela, about Williams' performance so far this year, and especially at Imola?
I am beaming. I'm so happy. I have been waiting very patiently for Williams to have their comeback of the century. It's happening. I'm so unbelievably happy. I think that they have had the best start to season that they could have ever predicted. It's their best start to season since 2016. I'm so happy to say that I am a Williams fan right now. I'm loving it. It's incredible. The lineup is so great. It's so strong. Like, as a team, they're all working so well together. Like, touch wood, we've not had like anything go wrong. Like, as in like nothing like in terms of like team messing things up. Like, we have had a few crashes. Like, I know that Sainz crashed out in Australia, and like we've had moments where things haven't gone to plan, but like not as drastic as it has been. I'm so happy that the team are like I don't even know how they've done this. Because I was gutted, right? I thought, and I spoke about this a lot on the Across the Pond Motorsport podcast that we used to do before we started the Fast Lane Collective, and I would say I was convinced that Adrian Newey was going to go to Williams and was going to bring Williams back. I was convinced that was going to happen, and everyone else was like, no, he's going to go to Aston. I'm like, no, he's not. He's going to Williams. Utter heartbreak when I found out that he was not going to Williams like I had thought, because I was like, I just want Williams to come back. I want them to be as like good as they were in the 90s, winning world championships. As my jumper suggests, this is the year that Nigel Mansell won in 1992. So I was like, this is what I want. I want this back. And I didn't think I was going to get it. And then Carlos joined the team, and Alex and Carlos went, do not worry, do not fear, we may not have Adrian Newey, but we're going to turn it around, and they have, and I am just so happy in this weekend's performance. Oh, incredible. I was loving the battle between Albon and Leclerc. I was eating that up. I was like, this is what I want. Hard racing, this is what I want. Now, yes, I know I did just say that I did think the move was illegal, because I do think it was. Maybe I'm biased. I am literally in a Williams shirt. But I loved the fact that we were having those battles between the Williams and Ferrari. Like, it's literally giving old school F1.
Yeah.
Okay? 75 years of F1. And this is what we've now got. I'm so happy.
It was a great way to celebrate, for sure. And I will eat my own words. I was not 100% confident in why Carlos went to Williams. I was like, I don't know about this. You know, I don't know if they're going to be anywhere. But here we are. Here we are at Imola. Just looking at the results as well. Williams is sitting comfortably in 5th, right behind Ferrari in the constructors' standings. And obviously Alex Albon finishing in 5th in Imola, and then Carlos just a little bit behind him in 8th. I mean, I think we're starting to see the results of a long, hard work of a long project that's been happening behind the scenes at Williams. And it makes me so happy to see. We've said this before, I think. Nobody wants to see Williams do bad. Like, honestly, like, we don't want to see them at the bottom anymore. We just want them to be back and at least just be competitive again. We would love to see them winning, but to see them kind of where they're sitting right now, the battles we saw this weekend, the performances both drivers put in, it is incredibly exciting, and just gives us a little bit of boost of confidence that Williams is finally on the right track after so many years of just turmoil and depression and sadness over at that team. The fact that it seems to be paying off, that Claire Williams made the right move by selling Williams, and Williams is making the right moves by getting these investors. James Vowles is making the right moves of getting drivers and getting that car in the right place and where it needs to be. So it's really, really exciting to see. And yeah, like you said, crazy to see Alex Albon fighting up there with Charles Leclerc and Ferrari. Like, I never thought I would see that happen. And if I did, it was because of Ferrari like had to start at the back, not both at the front. So amazing stuff to see, and just really positive overall for Williams. And Carlos Sainz, you might have made the right decision, buddy, honestly. Like, I'm starting to question if Ferrari could pull it off this year, which would be insane if they get passed by Williams in the constructors. That would be, I don't want to think about it. Like I said, I don't want Williams to do bad, but I don't want them to do good enough that they're beating Ferrari, okay? I just want them to be, like, mid. Like, I don't want that, but it could happen. It could happen. All right. Well, that is all we have for you. I think, right, Daniela? I think we covered everything. This race was exciting, but...
We do need to do one little shout-out.
Shout-out? I'm here for it. Yeah. Let's do a shout-out.
It was... I don't know if it's necessarily a good shout-out, but it was Kimi Antonelli's first home Grand Prix. He's from Bologna, and unfortunately he DNF'd on lap 46, and it was utter heartbreak.
You're right. Oh my God, how did I forget that? Yes, Kimi Antonelli's first home race. Did you see that he brought his whole class to the track? Which, first of all, that's the sweetest thing I've ever seen, and also incredibly jealous. And that's the coolest field trip a school could have ever taken. I wonder if the school was just like, yes, screw it, go the whole week. Like, yeah, they probably did. This is Italy. They were like, yeah, racing is more important than your education. Go. But that was so cool that he brought his whole class and included them, and his dad was there, obviously, drove him around the track for the driver's parade. He just looked so happy this weekend. It was a bummer that he did DNF. Obviously, nothing he did to have that happen, but a real big bummer. But I mean, just happy to see him so happy and experience his first race. I think I saw somebody say to him, like, take it all in, because you won't get that feeling again of your first home race, and just take it all in. So it was cool to see. I'm glad you mentioned that. Oh my God, how could I have forgotten Kimi Antonelli's first race? Probably because he DNF'd. Sad. But yeah, that's all we have for a recap of Imola and the news this week. Thanks so much for sticking with us for this whole episode. I know it was a little longer than our normal ones, but we had so much stuff to talk about. As always, you guys, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. If you're following us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on social media at the Fastlane Collective _. Make sure to follow us there so you don't miss a single clip that we post. We also post some other things there during the week as well, so it's a fun way to stay connected to us when episodes aren't out. But until the next race, we will see you then. Bye-bye.
Hello, fly chick coming through. Nice to meet ya, glad you came too. Like your style when you know you got moves.